17 members and associates of the Hells Angels are facing criminal charges in a violent attack.
Federal agents allege the outlaws sold drugs, traded firearms, and engaged in insurance fraud and even tampered with government witnesses.
We have learned there is cell phone video as well as surveillance video of evidence in this attack.
The U.S. Attorney characterized today's raids as historic, the largest federal bust on organized criminal gang activity.
Retaliation is common for crimes involving biker gangs. However, it could happen anywhere because of how interconnected gangs have become nationwide.
The 3-year investigation resulted in 42 federal indictments on a variety of charges, including racketeering, money laundering, drugs, gambling, insurance fraud, and extortion.
There's a bunch of bikers up here, and they're shooting guns and stuff. I need the police now.
But on foot going towards 2nd Street. Okay, receive.
Welcome to this episode of Chattin with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today we got Nancy with us. Say hi to the people, Nancy. She's chilling. So, before we get started, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. Lay down. So, today, we're talking about Waco. 10 years since the Waco situation where the cops murdered a bunch of bikers. Lindsay, how are you? Thank you for joining me today. Ronan, what's good? Jake, how are you? Thank you guys all for taking the time. Let me let her out. I'll be right back. All right, we're back in business. Hey, what's going on, Kitty? So today we're talking about the Waco shooting between the Cossacks, the ugly men Cossacks, and the Banditos. We got some other things to talk about. We're going to talk about the situation where the Mexican boat hit the Brooklyn Bridge. I don't know if you guys seen that. It's insane. There were people on those masts on the sails, and they were dangling. 3 people died, I believe. Might have been 2, but at least 2 people died. A lot of people are hurt, and they want some answers. Let's talk about that first. 2 people killed and at least 20 others injured after a Mexican Navy ship crashes into the Brooklyn Bridge. Dumbo, Brooklyn. 2 people were killed and nearly a dozen were injured when a tall Mexican Navy ship on the International Goodwill Tour lost power. I don't buy that shit because it was a tugboat pulling it. And what, you're telling me the tugboat lost power? Why was it even going towards the Brooklyn Bridge when they know it couldn't make it under it? Why would they even be going in that direction? It makes no sense. I believe it was intentional. But hey, what do I know? They say that they lost power and crashed into the upper side of the Brooklyn Bridge on Saturday evening. The collision happened just before 8:30 p.m. Let me see. That's a different story. So come on. Why were they even towing it towards the bridge? Like, what was the reason? I'm not buying this. Like, just the same thing with that other thing that happened when the ship hit the bridge. I'm not buying it. That shit was intentional. The collision happened just before 8:30 near Brooklyn Bridge as horrific onlookers watched helplessly as a massive ship known as the Cusamoth, with almost 300 sailors on board, barreled towards and then smashed into the 140 year-old bridge. The collision caused the ship 3 main towering masses to snap upon impact, while crew members were left dangling in the air. According to the Mexican Navy officials, a total of 22 crew members have been reported injured so far, and at least 11 of them are critical condition. 2 people aboard the ship died as a result of the collision. If you watch the video, I put it on Patreon. You guys can check it out on Patreon right now. You can see the people getting flung into the water. The New York mayor, corrupt Mayor Eric Adams, weighed in on social media early Sunday morning about the deadly crash. We are praying for everyone on board and their families, and we are grateful to our first responders who quickly jumped into action, ensuring this accident wasn't much worse. How much worse can it get? I mean, can you imagine if you were driving on the Brooklyn Bridge and you see a big ass ship on its way towards the bridge you're driving on? I mean, some of that debris probably ended up on the road, I can imagine, right? But there was cars all on the bridge. It's just crazy. Meanwhile, New York City Department of Transportation says Brooklyn Bridge was not damaged from the collision, and traffic can freely flow. Vessels moving in the nearby area have since been instructed to proceed at slow speeds. According to the U.S. Coast Guard, the ship remains at Pier 36 on the East River for damage assessments and further evaluation. The ship was a training ship on its international goodwill mission, was set to disembark, was the next headed to Iceland when a collision happened. Authorities say the boat's captain lost control of the vessel. That's funny because it was being towed by a tugboat. So how did it lose control of the vessel when it was being towed by a tugboat in the video? The ship's masts snapped as they struck the bridge's underside. Pieces fell onto the deck. Officials say the iconic span itself did not sustain any structural damage. All lanes on the bridge reopened after a brief closure. Man, I'm not buying the shit they're selling. Authorities said 177 people were aboard the ship and nobody fell into the water. And that's a lie, too, because I seen a video where the dude goes flying into the water. Authorities said no one fell into the water. And the lie detector test determined that was a lie. Even the sailors were left dangling from harnesses on the mast after the crash. Well, one of the harnesses snapped because I seen the video where the dude falls into the water. The victims were being taken away on stretchers at Pier 17 on South Street Seaport. The National Transportation Safety Board is on site and will begin its investigation, but preliminary investigation shows that it was likely mechanical issues with the sailboat, according to officials. And again, that's a lie, because you can see in the video it's being towed by a tugboat. Witnesses video capture the ship's approach towards the bridge. In one of the videos, a woman filming the ship, which was festooned with amber lights and a giant Mexican flag, can be heard wandering aloud if the ship might collide with the bridge. When the ship's mast strikes the bottom of the bridge, she screams, "It crashed, it crashed," in Spanish and then in English. As the ship continued to approach the Dumbo shore. "Stop, stop. Oh my God," she continued in English. And then in Spanish, she says, It crashed. It crashed. Run away from there, referring to people gathered on the pier where the ship was seemed to hit. NYPD Harbor Unit and Scuba were among the first responders who covered the scene. The Mexican ship was described as a goodwill vessel that had plied the water since 1982. The ship is 297 feet long and 40 feet wide, according to the Mexican Navy. The vessel's main mast has a height of 160 feet, according to the Mexican government. Each year, the ship sets out at the end of classes at the Naval Military School and finishes cadets training. This year, it left the Mexican port of Acapulco on the Pacific coast on April 6th, the Navy said. The Mexican consulate said on May 13th on X that the ship, also called the Ambassador and Knights of the Sea, arrived that day and docked at Pier 17. It's invited people to visit through May 17th. The ship was scheduled to visit 22 ports in 15 nations, including Kingston, Jamaica, Havana, Cuba, Mexico, and New York. It also planned to go to Iceland and St. Malo and Denmark, France, Scotland, amongst others. A total of 254 days and almost 170 days at sea. Looks like it won't be doing that anytime soon. But if you guys want to see the video, go to Patreon and you can see the video obviously being towed by a tugboat. So all the shit they're selling, I ain't buying it. Not buying it. Now, let's get into this story because this is the main event of why we're even here. So 10 years since Twin Peaks shootout. So Waco, Texas, 10 years and 9 killed, 18 injured in a shootout between rival motorcycle groups. All of the charges were eventually dropped, and the district attorney called insufficient evidence. But civil lawsuits are still pending. On Sunday, May 17, 2015, was started as a normal day in Waco. Twin Peaks restaurant turned into a shootout between rival motorcycle clubs, Waco Police, and Texas State Troopers. After it was all said and done, 9 bikers were killed, 18 were wounded, and 177 were arrested for organized crime. You know, so the police had this place surrounded, right? They knew this event was going on. They had the place surrounded by police. They had video cameras set up. They knew this shit was going on. How come they didn't stop it? And then to find out that all the people that died from long guns. So the police massacred these people. They were probably looking for a reason, and they massacred the bikers. So a decade later, a look back at Twin Peaks Massacre in Waco, Texas. The case more closely resembles the bizarre Quentin Tarantino screenplay than a real-life tragedy. 10 years ago, about 200 bikers descended on the former Twin Peaks restaurant in Waco. And a major battle broke out between rival motorcycle groups, the Banditos and the Cossacks, and members of their respective support groups. The deadly brawl lasted only about 2 minutes, but left 9 bikers dead and a total of 20 wounded, with dozens of law enforcement officers surrounding the perimeter and police video cameras set up beforehand rolling. The frightening scene shattered the normally calm Sunday afternoon in the Waco marketplace, sent families at nearby restaurants and hundreds of bikers not involved in the melee scrambling for their lives. But unlike a Quentin Tarantino movie, in which justice normally is met out to those who deserved it, former McKean County District Attorney overreaching decision to arrest everyone wearing biker colors associated with the Banditos and the Cossacks, even some that weren't even at Twin Peaks when the fight broke out, doomed the criminal cases from the start and led to no one being held criminally accountable for 9 deaths and multiple injuries, and all cases were dismissed. Law enforcement officials arrested 177 bikers that afternoon, 15 more in subsequent days, on identical allegations, despite the level of their reported involvement or lack thereof in the violent outbreak. Hundreds languished in the McLean County Jail for weeks and months on identical $1 million bonds, charged with engaging in organized criminal activity, before their attorneys filed a flurry of motions to get their bonds reduced, challenging what they call an unconstitutional cookie cutter, fill in the blanks charging documents. Only one of the 155 bikers indicted ever went to trial. Jacob Carrizo, president of the Dallas Banditos chapter, was hand-selected to stand trial first in what was expected to be a long series of biker trials. A 54th state district court jury in Waco deadlocked on November 2017, and a mistrial was declared in the case, as the prosecution team spent more time trying to demonize the Banditos and other biker groups, proving the involvement in the melee. He had an open shootout in broad daylight at public restaurant in the middle of May on a Sunday afternoon, leaving 9 dead, over 20 wounded. Nobody was even convicted of a misdemeanor, said the colorful Houston attorney Paul Looney. It was an unacceptable result of American justice system. Looney and Dallas attorney Clint Broden spearheaded and ensuring outrage many felt in what they say was Reina's use of an overlay broad brush to paint bikers that were there that day as members of a criminal street gang, and to charge all of them as equal participants. While the mass arrests flooded the county jail's population and bogged down criminal dockets, Looney recruited 28 lawyers from across the state to take on the biker cases. I have never seen such an egregious activity, so thoroughly, completely mishandled by the authorities in my entire career, Looney said. This is a complete disgrace to the entire system. They failed everybody through that endeavor. And had it not been for a bunch of defense attorneys who said this is a bunch of crap, who knows what they would have gotten away with. I'm really proud of all my colleagues, he said. Reina declined to comment on the case, citing the pending civil litigations. He deferred comment to his attorney, Tom Reddit, who did not respond to phone messages. After the Carrizo trial ended in a mistrial, Rena's office subsequently began dismissing cases, especially after Rena, once thought to have a promising political career, was defeated in his bid for re-election by Barry Johnson. Johnson used the mishandling of Twin Peaks cases as a hammer to bash Rena, defeating the incumbent by 20% points in the polls. After Johnson took office, he reviewed what was left of the Twin Peaks criminal case and ultimately dismissed the remaining 24 or so cases in April 2019. It's insane. And so these people sat in jail with $1 million bonds. They couldn't leave. They couldn't get out. And it was all bullshit. The whole thing. These are some of the people that were in prison. This is a small number of what was nearly 200 arrests made following the biker gang-related shooting in Waco. Insane. I mean, you should see the picture. Let me show it to you guys. All them people arrested on the same charges. Same exact charges. Some of them weren't even there. And the police knew that this shit would have had a bad outcome if these two groups were in the same place at the same time. So when they seen that they were going there, why wouldn't they intervene? Maybe they wanted to do something that day. Now there's a bunch of lawsuits going on, and I don't know. I have a feeling that they're going to win, you know? It really is insane. So 10 years after the events at Twin Peak, more than 100 bikers, including 35 who were not indicted, still have civil rights lawsuits pending in federal court. Dallas attorney Don Tittle represents the majority of the bikers in the civil suits and said he has never been involved in cases that have dragged out in the courts for this long. The cases have bounced back and forth over the years from federal court to the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, as lower court rulings have been applied by parties on both sides in what we know as interlocutory appeals. In Tittle's cases, the city of Waco, McLean County, and a number of law enforcement officers have been dismissed as defendants by the pretrial ruling, leaving only Rena and the Waco Police detective Manuel Chavez, who swore out the arrest affidavits, remaining as defendants. They claimed qualified immunity from liability, asserting that they were merely just doing their job. However, Tittle has asserted that Rena and Chavez are not entitled to immunity because he claims Rena stepped beyond his role as a prosecutor at the crime scene that day, and Chavez committed perjury when he swore that he was in the identical arrest documents was true. And it's stunning how long these cases have been pending. Tittle said, "I have never seen cases take this long, nothing close, but I'm not blaming the trial judge. Qualified immunity originally was meant to protect police officers who make split decisions in the line of duty from being sued. But this is not a split decision in the least. Rights were clearly violated. After the dust settled at Twin Peaks, officers busted hundreds of bikers to the Waco Convention Center for processing, while Waco Police kicked off a homicide investigation led by 40-year police veteran J.R. Price. A number of bikers have been processed and released to go home. When Reyna and his assistants arrived, they made the call to anyone wearing Banditos or Cossacks colors was going to jail on identical charges. Broden, the Dallas attorney, called the decision a rush to judgment and a comedy of errors. He said it was wrong to charge those simply because they were there, mere presence at the crime scene, adding it was even worse to charge those who weren't there or who later arrived. Unfortunately, as a result of the irresponsible decisions to arrest and charge mostly everybody present, numerous people were falsely arrested, and the true perpetrators were never able to be held accountable. Bowden said, in the end, the Twin Peaks cases will always serve as an example as to how not to handle cases of this magnitude. 10 years later, civil litigations arise out of the numerous civil rights violations committed in the wakes of the Twin Peaks tragedy. Still remains ongoing, with the officials behind the arrest refusing to accept any responsibility. And it is our hope that justice for those falsely arrested a decade ago will ultimately prevail, Bowden said. Trudy Smith, the mother of 27-year-old Matthew Mark Smith, says the pain of losing her son is just as pronounced 10 years later. She said her son left behind two sons and had wide variety of friends from all walks of life, including those who shared his love for riding motorcycles in a group he was associated with. He was in a support club for the Cossacks. She said her husband was not aware that their son was in Waco that day and learned of his death at 2 p.m. from a phone call from a Cossacks member. It is the call that every parent dreads, she said. My son was preppy, but also could fit in with the motorcycle friends he had. He had more friends than anyone I ever seen. But the way this case handled was a joke. I'm not kidding. I think it was a damn joke. People are supposed to have compassion for everybody. They tried to make everybody in the group bad, like they were criminals just because they rode motorcycles. It's just not right. Forensics tests showed that two Waco police snipers killed 4 of the 9 bikers. So 2 snipers killed 4 of the bikers. What about the other cops? And the other cops probably handled the rest. It's insane. The police massacred these people. They knew what the hell was going on. And yeah, some people had weapons on them. It's your right as an American citizen to carry a weapon. So all this bullshit. Like, that dude has a gun. He hears gunshots going off. Of course he's going to pull his gun out, right? It's insane that they would do what they did. And they knew what was going on. A grand jury found the officers who killed the 4 people. The officers committed no wrongdoing in 2016. That is crazy. Here, I'm going to show you a picture of Matthew Mark Smith, the guy that I was just talking about. His mom was talking about him. Here's a picture of him with this cut on. He was in that club, support club. Forgot the name. If I find the name, I'll let you guys know. It's the support club for the Banditos. And then this, where's the other one? So there was 9 different people killed. It's just crazy. The police knew what the fuck they were doing. Hey, Mark, what's going on? Thank you guys for joining me today. Nancy's doing great. Staxx is a good teller, a good storyteller as always. Thank you. So I'm going to start doing some pre-recorded videos. I'm still going to go live, but I'm going to take different cases. So if there's any stories that you want to hear from the past, I'm going to start doing pre-recorded stories of different cases. So if you got anything that you want to hear, put it in the comments and I'll take it into consideration. Put it in the suggestion box. So later on in the week, maybe tomorrow, we're going to talk about the 14 members of the Thug Riders were charged with federal crimes. A couple of them have pled guilty. I have a feeling, I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that this indictment goes along with the Pagan indictment. You know, the one where they pled guilty. Just a feeling. Who knows? We'll look into it. Staxx always grinding, putting in that work. Thank you, Lindsay. Definitely. I don't know any other way. We got a lot of content on the way for you guys. If you guys haven't checked out the Outlaws MC London chapter, make sure you check it out. I'll play a couple clips.
Now, were these two guys, were they in the club?
So they were in that club from England that I was explaining to you. Had called themselves Outlaws, but they didn't have the same back patch and the colors weren't the same. They weren't black and white. It actually looked at it, if you're looking at them, that they were going to end up being Banditos, because Banditos had a big presence in Europe at that time. And we had some Scandinavian countries and maybe some chapters in Belgium, I believe, and that was about it.
But there were no legit outlaws in London.
Not in England at the time, no. So, you know, kind of along the way, I was kind of giving a message. So in that year that took them to make the arrest and find these guys, I started to probate and got my full patch. And then in that time, my sponsor, Bandit took me, him and I decided to go to Daytona because I'd never been to Daytona before. And the Outlaws were pretty prevalent down there, right? So, and him and I have been hanging out with the guys from the Detroit chapter at that time. And so we got a hold of them and they held a couple guys back for us. And we came over and joined them and went down in a van with a trailer with a couple bikes on the back because we left in a snowstorm. Even if you're outlaws, you're not riding through the snow to go to Daytona. That's what I love about going to other countries and other places to see what they do for an income and how they swing it. So these guys, not the whole chapter, but some of the chapter invested in the auto salvage business. That's the perfect business for people like us. You know what I mean? So if one maybe gets nicked off the street, but maybe you needed that Mercedes motor, you know, it comes in after hours and you got a Mercedes motor for your customer, whatever, right?
Yeah,
so It's a good business, you know. I'm sure you know the Italian mafia and all those places have done all these sort of ventures over the years too. You know what I mean?
Of course.
You know, there's not too many.
Roy DeMeo was shipping cars overseas.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
he was. He's like, what the hell? Who are you? What's going on? I give him a rundown, tell him the story. He's like, all right, get in. We jump in his work van. He takes me to the clubhouse. Just like that, man. It was so cool.
Wow.
He called up, what was their names? It was, Kearney and, oh, shit, I don't want to miss his name. Kearney and what was the other guy's name? I think it started with an F. I'll get it. It'll come to me while we're talking. And I got off the train and jumped into a taxi. I said, just take me to a biker bar, a bar where bikers will be, a strip joint, whatever. And he just takes me to a pub. I walk in, there's nobody in the fucking place. I go to the bartender. I go, if I was an outlaw, where would I be right now? And he gives me a funny look, like, you know, who the fuck's this guy, right? And he's got, because, you know, they're in Britain. They think he's got an American accent. So who's this Yankee? What's he want?
Make sure you guys check out the interview with Bob from Biker News Canada. Go subscribe to Bob. He's got great content. There's a lot more on the way. We got, what's his name? Boston 2%. Really good interview with him. Insane interview. You guys are going to really like this one. He tells the craziest story about how he went through drug addiction, ended up getting sober, and all the craziness in between. It is an insane interview. It's 10 parts. It's really good. If you want to see the whole interview, just join the membership. The whole interview for Bob is up there now. You guys can check it out. We got new Pee-wee on the way. Pee-wee is back. And we got a whole bunch. Leonard. We got Leonard Brushel. I think it's how you say it. He wrote the book called High. We got him coming up. We got Boston 2%. We got the Outlaws meet the Hells Angels. We got a new Popcorn interview dropping. Life After the Pagans. And then we got Travis. Shout out to everybody that comes on this show. I got some really good interviews lined up. If you want to be a guest on the show, hit up my email at billstax2021@gmail.com. And if you want to help out the show, you can cash at me at Chattin with Staxx, or you can hit up Venmo, PayPal, Super Stickers, Super Chats. No more Zelle, but it's all good. And we're going to start filming the TV series and the movie coming up very soon. So if you want to be a part of either one of those, hit me up and we'll make it happen. I can't wait to show you guys what I've created. I can't wait to bring it all together onto the big screen and show you guys the storyline and everything else. It's really good. So I hope you guys like this content. There's a lot more content on the way. If you like this, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you could get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like this show, start your own fucking podcast. I appreciate all you guys. And remember, don't be a bitch.
And all new at 5, a major organized crime bust. 23 people under arrest now accused of stealing guns and cash.
Today, police revealed 4 organized crime groups are wreaking havoc.
From aggravated robbery to kidnapping, burglary, and more. Let's take a look at this. New pictures from court documents in this case. These are a few of the people who have been charged. And investigators say the money, tens of thousands of dollars, is all stolen.